Social order is breaking down, and it's not the first time you've heard me say it, but this story is absolutely insane. Okay, you've got Trump's top federal prosecutor being unable to secure indictments against people who conspired to aid and abet riots against federal facilities. Why? Because the people in California have said outright they will not indict rioters. Why? They support the riots. They support the attacks. Now, the Constitution is clear. When you indict someone, they have a right to a trial by a jury of their peers. And if you live in California, the likelihood is, especially considering law enforcement wasn't doing their job, the individuals who live in these areas, when called to a grand jury, will refuse to indict people who physically attack federal law enforcement. Let me say that for you one more time, where we're at as a country. California is a rogue state. Donald Trump had to send in the Marines to protect federal buildings and the National Guard because the police weren't doing their job. Now, maybe you'll say they weren't allowed to. Fine. The point is they were not. Trump sends in the troops, shuts these riots down. There's a video of a guy handing out masks to help these people attack law enforcement. Prosecutor brought this guy in for charges. They arrested him, and the grand jury, right? This is not a guilty or innocent moment. It's the grand jury just to determine if there's a preponderance of evidence to bring charges. And they said no. It's obvious. Trump can try, for the most part, to go after these individuals. His prosecutor can try to go after these individuals. But so long as the people of California are in direct opposition politically to Trump and law enforcement, you will not get these indictments. That's the reality. And activists have been calling for it for some time. They call it jury nullification. Now, this isn't necessarily jury nullification. It probably is. But it's insane to think federal prosecutors who have historically brought charges against whoever they wanted with like a 90+% win rate are failing on about half of these charges. Now, I think the scenario that plays out is terrifying, but also easily predictable. We've talked about this for some time. How in D.C. or New York or Chicago, look at the lawyers in New York or the Molotovs. They got a sweetheart plea deal because the hyperpolarization in this country is as such that the guys who are physically attacking the police, they couldn't get an indictment on them because the people in California are supporting it. So what happens next? I'm going to say this. I think Donald Trump needs to invoke the Insurrection Act, go in and just shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down obviously means it's figurative, but these people clearly cannot be tried in a community where people are celebrating violence against the feds, which is a challenge, by the way. Are you guys familiar with that corridor? It's not real, but it kind of is. It's in like Wyoming or whatever. In Yellowstone, they made a joke about it where nobody lives there and there's no peers. So whatever crime you commit, you can't constitutionally be tried. Well, that's never going to fly. There was apparently some guy who committed a crime and they said, play us and we'll see how it works out. And the guy said, okay, you win, took a plea bargain. The issue is the Constitution says the people who live there decide whether you broke the law. And Trump, as the federal government, is going into this jurisdiction and saying, did this guy break the law? Here's the evidence. And they're just looking at each other and going, no. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that video of Jack Posobiec getting punched on the street. Cops pull up and they immediately go to arrest the guy who punched Jack. And the Antifa was a woman. She goes, I didn't see anything. Nothing happened. That's what they do. So what next? Here's the story. Let me read the story for you guys. Trump's top federal prosecutor in L.A. struggles to secure indictments in protest cases. They say to bystanders, the federal courthouse in downtown L.A., it sounded as though U.S. Attorney Bill Asalee would not take no for an answer. A prosecutor had the irate Trump administration appointee on speakerphone outside the grand jury room, and his screaming was audible, according to 3 law enforcement officials aware of the encounter, who spoke on condition of anonymity for fear of reprisals. The grand jury had just refused to indict someone accused of attacking federal law enforcement officers during the protests against the recent immigration raids. It was an exceedingly rare outcome after a type of hearing that routinely leads to charges being filed. Again, a grand jury. This is not them saying, we have proven beyond a reasonable doubt. This is them saying, here's the evidence we have against this guy. We want to bring charges and then bring it to court to see if we can prove it. And the grand jury, which is normally, it's easy. It's a cakewalk. It's non-adversarial. You as the defendant have no opportunity to defend yourself in these proceedings because it's just to bring charges. And they lost. That's insane. On the overheard call, according to 3 officials, Asaeli, 39, told a subordinate to disregard the federal government's justice manual, which directs prosecutors to bring only cases they can win at trial. Asaeli barked that prosecutors should press on and secure indictments as directed by U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, according to 3 officials. Court records show the reason for Asaeli's frustration. Although his office filed felony cases against at least 38 people for alleged misconduct that took place during last month's protests or near the sites of immigration raids, many have been dismissed or reduced to misdemeanors. In total, he has secured only 7 indictments, which usually need to be obtained no later than 21 days after the filing of a criminal complaint. 3 other cases have been resolved via plea deal. The 3 officials who spoke to the Times on condition of anonymity said prosecutors have struggled to get several protest-related cases past grand juries, which need only to find probable cause that a crime has been committed in order to move forward. That is a much lower bar than the beyond a reasonable doubt standard for criminal conviction. 5 cases have been dismissed without prejudice, meaning they could be refiled, and records show 9 have been filed as misdemeanors, which do not require a grand jury indictment to proceed. In some cases, prosecutors reduced charges against defendants to misdemeanors after repeatedly falling short at the grand jury stage, according to 3 officials. Asaeli declined to be interviewed for the article. A statement provided by his office on Tuesday accused the Times of spreading factual inaccuracies and anonymous gossip, but offered no specifics or further comments in response to these questions. The U.S. Attorney's Office will continue working unapologetically to charge all those who assault our agents or impede our federal investigations. Legal experts said Asaeli's low number of indictments raised concerns about the strength of the cases he's filing. No! Spare me! We know exactly what's going on. These people are on video. It's a probable cause hearing. The grand juries are refusing to indict because they agree with the violence. They view Trump as a fascist dictator, and they're saying, I ain't bringing charges against you because you're stormtroopers. Now, Trump is following the law as mandated by a popular vote in this country. It is still about 50-50, however. But when the American people, the body politic in its majority says, get rid of illegal immigrants, and poll after poll after poll shows it, this is a rogue jurisdiction, and you have little recourse. I'll say it again. The Constitution makes it clear. Okay? When you're charged and tried, you get a jury of your peers, the people who live in that area. But if the people in this area have gone rogue and say, screw you to the federal government and the American voter, what is your course of action? Good effing luck. The American people have stated what they want. California doesn't get to just skirt the rules because they disagree with how the rest of the country voted. California is giving themselves extra congressional seats by padding their numbers with illegal immigrants. These people count towards the census. And so they get extra congressional seats. Some estimate California can have upwards of 10 extra seats. It could be as low as 1 or 2. But either way, the illegal immigration racket has given Democrats an edge in Congress and the electoral vote count. And the American people have said, enough, we don't want it. California has gone rogue. Its citizenry is doing this because they are rogue. And what do you do? How do you answer this? I think the reality is there is only one solution. Trump invokes the Insurrection Act and then moves these cases outside of California because the jury pool is tainted. That could violate the Constitution. Let's entertain the inverse. Let's say you do not address this and these criminals go free. Then the precedent is set for all of the far left wackaloons in California. War. I'm going to ask you guys this, because I can already hear the liberals saying, Tim's calling for fascistic, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm not calling for anything. I said I think the only solution for this conundrum is going to be charging these people and moving venue due to these being rogue districts. Let's entertain the inverse, okay? Let's say Bill Asaley is unable to secure these indictments, is dropping the charges, reducing them to misdemeanors because the grand juries will not indict. The message to the far left extremists is clear. When the feds come in, including the Marines and the National Guard, you can fight. We will not charge you. And I have said this, okay? Now I get it. The reality is, I think most people watch my show, not necessarily agree with everything I say. Obviously, they don't. A lot of people disagree, but they respect my view on things and they want to hear what I have to say. Some people don't really agree or disagree. They're just interested in what I think about things. And, maybe we'll see. And some people agree. But I got to tell you right now, my friends, we have been talking about jurisdictions going rogue for some time. And I've asked this question because people don't. I'm not a history buff. I just read some history sometimes. And I talk to people who tell me. And what I've brought up as it pertains to the concept of civil war, when it comes to the choice between your state versus the federal government, people will choose the state. So here's what happens. Donald Trump he took control. He federalized the National Guard in California. Newsom filed a lawsuit. He won, then he lost. We moved on. But take a look at what's going on here with the violent extremists getting away with their crimes. What's going to happen is clear. The state is telling these people, we will not prosecute you if you attack Trump and his federal law enforcement. What's Trump's alternative? He's got a mandate from the majority of this country to enforce this law. He can't just back down. The American public has said, enforce the law. Do it. Donald Trump also wants to do it. But when he goes in to charge, the people of this jurisdiction, the minority, say, no, we won't allow it. It's an unstoppable force and an immovable object. So what do? If Trump is to invoke the Insurrection Act and say, you have gone rogue, we have evidence of their crimes, the people of this country have spoken, we are going to remove these illegal immigrants. What happens when Newsom says, or whoever's the next governor, whatever, to the National Guard, do not listen to Donald Trump. He is acting unconstitutionally. Trump says, do not listen to the governor. I have supremacy on this issue. You are to obey the federal government. If it comes down to it, I'm telling you, National Guard troops will do what they're told at the state level. And this is the perfect example of why. If you live in California, you can commit crimes with impunity. Not only are there people looting Walgreens and getting away with it, violent extremists attacking federal law enforcement won't be indicted. If you were in the National Guard and Newsom said, listen to me or else, and Trump said, you listen to me or else, this is what people need to consider about the Civil War in this country in 1861. Many of these people, these soldiers, the generals, not just the generals, many of the officers were trained at West Point, served in the Union Army. And they were asked to make a decision, your home or your country. And they said home, always home. You know why? If you live in California and you're in the Guard or you're law enforcement, Newsom says, not just Newsom, it could be anybody, but the governor will say, we will take from you your home. We will take from you your money. We will take from you your food unless you do as you're told. What leverage has the federal government? Trump can say, follow the law or else. Or else what? I'm in a state surrounded by other people who are going to march in lockstep with what the people of this state want, always. This is insane. And I gotta be honest, this is from a week ago. High-ranking DOJ officials have repeatedly praised his work. My friend, U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley, is a champion of law and order who has done superlative work to prosecute rioters for attacking and obstructing law enforcement in L.A. But legal experts and some of Asaley's prosecutors say he's stretching legal limits to serve as Trump's attack dog in L.A. It's just generally a culture of if Bill asks you to jump, you ask how high. Now, the story here, which is fascinating, is there's a guy. Here's what one guy said. Megan Blanco, former federal prosecutor in LA who serves as defense counsel, said the cases are faltering in part because of unreliable information provided by immigration agents claiming to be victims. Frankly, they're not deserving of prosecution. What is being alleged isn't a federal crime or it simply did not happen. According to an investigation summary, Border Patrol officer claimed a man was screaming in his face that he was going to shoot him, then punched him. The officer said he and another agent started chasing the man, but were stopped by two other males. Blanco said she obtained social media videos showing no such chase took place and presented them for Mojica's first court appearance. The charges were soon dropped. The agent lied and said he was in hot pursuit of a person who punched him. The entirety of the affidavit is false. Felony charges against Ramos Brito and two related defendants, Ashley and Jocelyn Rodriguez, were also dismissed. The prosecutors refiled misdemeanor cases against them. They have, let me pull this one. Let's see. No, we don't have that one. Diane Bass, Velez's attorney, said the incident occurred when masked, unidentified men in plainclothes pulled up to question a downtown LA street vendor. Velez had just been dropped off for work when some of the masked men ran at her and shoved her to the ground. Bass said Velez, fearing she was being abducted, held up her bag to shield herself. Bass requested body-worn camera video and witness statements cited in complaint. Soon after, she said the prosecutors dismissed the case. I have no problem admitting or arguing some of these cases probably are weak. Fine. But I will tell you this. Check this out, if it loads. We've got this from the Post-Millennial. DOJ drops case against LA activists distributing face shields at anti-ICE riots. Federal prosecutors have moved to dismiss the case against an LA man who had been seen in video distributing face masks during the LA and anti-ICE riots. According to court documents, the case against Alejandro Theodoro Orellana had been dropped. Plaintiff, United States of America, by and through its counsel of record, attorney for the Central District of California, hereby moves pursuant, blah, 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 blah. According to Bloomberg Law, the motion from the DOJ came down after Bill Isaly had faced pressure from prosecutors over the case. Orellana had been charged with civil disturbance, which usually requires consultation with the National Security Division in Washington. He had been indicted by a grand jury earlier in July for distributing face shields at the anti-ICE riots in LA that took place in June. He had been charged with conspiracy to commit civil disorder and aiding and abetting civil disorder. Here's the thing. The case being dropped comes after other cases from the DOJ were dropped against other individuals. According to LA Times, the riots in California took place in reaction to the Trump admin's crackdown on illegal immigration. In D.C., in 2017, far leftists organized a riot. They told everybody to wear the same clothes intentionally so that individuals could firebomb buildings and cars and smash things up, and prosecutors would be unable to secure indictments because they couldn't prove who did what. They're all wearing the same clothes. It's called black bloc tactics. It exploits our Constitution and our law enforcement system and our judiciary. It exploits it. You arrest someone, as the police did, setting fire to a migrant. There was a migrant-owned vehicle for a tax for a livery service. They torched the whole thing. They arrest the people. Now, the cops can say, I saw the guy do it. This is the guy, we arrested him. We've got several witnesses. And what happens? They go before the grand jury and they present the evidence. They get their charges. This was in D.C. When it came to the actual court proceedings, the defense simply said, how many people were wearing black hoodies, black jeans, and black masks? To which the response was about 200. So can you say beyond a reasonable doubt, the man you arrested is in fact the person who set those fires? Now the cop can say, yes, I watched him do it and grabbed him right when he did. And the jury goes, I don't know. But he might have grabbed the wrong guy. So what they tried doing was conspiracy charges. Okay, you all dressed like this intentionally to aid and abet each other. Try me. Guess what? They won. Cases were dropped, dismissed. You could not prove any one of these individuals conspired. They just happen to be wearing the same clothes. They are exploiting our laws intentionally to engage in violence. And the Trump administration has been largely impotent at dealing with this, going back to his inauguration, even to now. It is terrifying. Now, I don't necessarily trust the reporting from the LA Times on this one, that it's so simple that they just couldn't get the indictments. The federal government, it would be shocking to me to believe that the feds were bringing about cases that were so ridiculous they couldn't get an indictment. No, I think the reality is obvious. People in LA want illegal immigrants. They are an overwhelmingly Democratic city and state. And so in their mind, Trump is doing something wrong. The federal government is lying. I don't trust them. It may not be that these people are saying something like, guys, let's all nullify and make sure these guys get away with their crimes. It's as simple as, I don't know, man. I've been watching the news and these people are kidnapping people and abducting them. You saw how they framed it. A woman said that she thought she was being abducted, so she held her bag up. What? Okay. I don't believe it for a second. I'm not saying the cops are perfect. We saw what happened during COVID, right? I'm saying I think the people of California, either through propaganda or through direct intent, they're either believing the feds must be lying. They're kidnapping people. Trump's a fascist, not guilty. No indictment. Or they're smugly sitting there saying, I didn't see anything. Where does this go? Good luck enforcing the law. Good luck to the Trump administration when the sanctuary jurisdictions will not bring indictments. We'll see what happens. I'll leave it there. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Stay tuned. We got more coming up for you throughout the day. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. We'll see you all in the next segment.